What makes history happen? Is it a who? Is it technology? Is it demographic shifts? So there's one theory that says the great man theory, that there are key people throughout history that direct the course of human civilization in history, technological development, as well as development of culture and the development of people. For the great man theory, a lot of people bring up somebody like Caesar and Napoleon, or Winston Churchill, or you can take it to Rama or Christ or Shakyamuni Buddha. So the great man theory says that because of the unique qualities of a person and the unique circumstance of their time, that they are able to affect change and guide human history. There's also a school that thinks that technology guides history, that the invention of the wheel was always going to happen. It just happened to be somebody somebody specific who did it, but it was always going to happen. Or let's take two more modern examples. Calculus, the mathematical system, was being formed and was formed at the exact same time at two different places on the planet Earth. At the same time, it's being formed in two completely different sections of Earth and started being practiced at two different sections of Earth at the same time, many hundreds of years ago. And Darwin's theory of evolution, that was also being developed by somebody else who probably would have published it 6 months after Darwin if Darwin had published it. So the technological and philosophical idea theory of, everyone was going to get to it around the same time. It just happened to be individuals that got to it first. It has some weight behind it. So does the great man theory. Now granted, Julius Caesar, he was the first one to step into the idea of a Roman Empire behind an emperor. But what happened after they killed Julius Caesar? They fought over who would be emperor. Kind of lends to the technological theory. Well, that actually lends to the demographic theory. The demographic theory is that cultures and civilizations and humanity in general were always leaning towards a direction, and various individuals just happen to be at the spear points. Whereas if they would have been a little bit later, somebody else would have, or they have in the past. And that has some weight behind it as well, the demographic theory. We were always trending that direction. I think it's not necessarily one of these. I think that all of them play a part. When it comes to human history, it seems like certain parts of the globe take longer to catch up than others. But overall, we have similar trends. And the reason why one nation can call themselves the greatest nation on earth, or one civilization at one time can be called the greatest civilization that existed at its time, was because of a number of circumstances. Individuals, I think, when it comes to history, I think the great man theory has the least weight. Don't get me wrong, great men might have made things happen faster a little bit, but demographics and technological and mathematical shifts were going to happen. When I say mathematical, I mean more demographic as far as cultural and what we're all working out. So history in general, it's now when you read history in history books, it's never the complete history. That's why you have to study history from many different sources to really get a clear picture. And you don't really realize that till later on. But it seems like there's phases of consciousness on this planet. From whatever point in history you look, you start at and then work towards here. Religion kind of focuses on the great man theory, even the idea that a lot of people have called Napoleon the Antichrist, one of the Antichrists. A lot of people have called Martin Luther the Antichrist, and then also the Pope around Martin Luther's time the Antichrist. But when we look at Martin Luther, those were gripes against the papacy that were building up for a long time. He just happened to be the one with the hammer, the nail, and to write it out first and nail it to the church door. And the Pope, he was just kind of at the time was just kind of, your average Pope. We tend to focus so much on what's happening in our time that we view it as intrinsic and greater than any other time in its implications for the future of humanity. But that's not quite true. We're on ground zero in our time. If we step back and take a grander look of history, nothing we're dealing with is any better or worse than what anybody else has been dealing with in the past. I tend to subscribe to the circular theory of time, in that time and consciousness exist in cycles that can be called demographic and technological at the same time, and perhaps the great man theory a bit, because I believe in avatars and they're intrinsic to uplifting humanity, but that's my more spiritual side interceding into the discussion. It's very useful to understand history and look at how it changes and decide for yourself, because we are kind of a product of everything that was and the producers of everything that will be. We're caught in the timeline of history. And no matter what we do or how much we try to recede from it, the tiniest of our actions, and I'm kind of getting to the butterfly theory here, will have great effects in the future. The small kindnesses, the great weaknesses, the decisions on what our life is going to be about now. Every individual has an influence on history through their own platform of their body and their self, who they are and who they choose to be. It's important to understand and learn history and kind of figure out what it is, why things happen the way they did, and how in your mind they should happen. Because human beings are social and relative animals. Our identity is very much, most of it, for the average person, is formed based on relativity to everything that has happened and the hopes and fears of what will happen. What we can do is clarify our hopes and fears, and figure out why we hope for this or why we fear that, and hopefully have a greater impact on what will happen in the future, no matter how small our lives seem to be. At any rate, thank you very much for watching. This has been a bit of a rant, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, shoot them down in the comment section below on YouTube, and all of you, have a wonderful day.